This video is meant for a very specific kind of person, the kind of person that I'd be able to relate to. Do you feel proud of yourself when you've had a perfect day? When you feel like you've made no mistakes and you've had a smooth sailing day? And on the other hand, when things go wrong, you feel out of place and uneasy. If that sounds like you, watch this entire video and it might actually change your life. I'm here to tell you that trying to be perfect is not how to live your life. Life is full of rocks, waves, storms, icebergs, whatever you want to say. Life isn't smooth sailing. It's not meant to be. By trying to be perfect and make no mistakes, you avoid confrontation with other people. You avoid upsetting people and living authentic to who you really want to be. You follow all the rules, you bend your back for people, you let things happen to you in hopes that it'll make sure you have a smooth sailing life without that much turbulence. While at first they may feel like you're doing the correct thing and you might feel okay, you might feel smooth and non-turbulent, I want you to realize that it's not authentic to you. It's not fulfilling to you because it's not who you truly want to be. It's what you think other people want you to be. You're living someone else's expectation and not your own life. This need for perfection comes from a need for other people's validation. Because if I'm perfect and I make no mistakes, people will like me more, right? No, that's not right. Because when you act like this perfect person and you project your flawless self into the world, you project someone who isn't human. Humans, people, they're meant to make mistakes. They're not meant to be perfect and flawless. When you try to be that, you cut other people off of relating to you. And it makes people feel weird and inauthentic and uneasy around you. It stops people from wanting to be around you because they can't relate to someone who's perfect. So, taking a mistakeless and a perfect day as a good day is a flawed perception of life because life isn't meant to be without mistakes. Life isn't meant to be without turbulence. You are meant to make mistakes. You are not meant to be perfect. You are allowed to be who you want to be, who you feel is right. And by trying to be perfect, you rob yourself of that opportunity. So if you've been following me so far, you realize that trying to be perfect isn't making your life better, it's actually ruining your life. And you might ask me, well, how do I fix that? Well, that's why you're here. With actionable steps, I got 3 steps to fixing it. Firstly, I want you to take the pressure off of yourself to be perfect and internalize this quote I have up here. You are perfectly imperfect. Being imperfect is part of being human. You are allowed to make mistakes, to follow your intuition and be wrong. You are allowed to not follow the rules and do what you feel is right instead. In fact, if things go wrong when you do something out of your own accord, that's a good thing because you know that you at least followed your own intuition, you were authentic to yourself. Because at the end of the day, to have a fulfilling life, you're not supposed to follow someone else's rules. You're supposed to do what you feel is right. Whether that ends up right or wrong, there's only one way to find out, and that's by actually doing it. So realize that you're not perfect. He's not perfect. She's not perfect. No one is perfect. And that's okay. That's how life is meant to be. You are meant to be imperfect. You are meant to make mistakes. You are allowed to. There's nothing stopping you from making a mistake except other people's lack of validation. But at the end of the day, what does their validation mean when you are your own person? So for example, instead of wallowing in some mistake you made in a friendship, thinking, oh, I did something so wrong and that's why they're so pissed off at me. Accept that, yeah, I made a mistake, I'm human. It's not that deep. And now just move on. Move on and move forward because you are allowed to make mistakes. You've had that self-awareness to realize that, and now you can hopefully move forward in a better direction. That's all there is to it. That comes down to anything you do in life. You make a mistake with something, you make a wrong turn, a wrong decision, accept it and move forward. You know you have the self-awareness to accept that it's a mistake, so it's okay. That's all there is to it. When you accept that you're imperfect and start internalizing that quote I told you before, you are perfectly imperfect. You are primed and ready for step 2. Second, I want you to stop seeking the validation of others. People have perceptions of things that differ from your own. It's skewed by their experiences, their life, which is completely different to yours. For example, what you might see as perfectly normal and acceptable, someone else might see as unacceptable, horrible, and the same goes vice versa. So if their experiences differ from yours, their perception of life is literally different from yours. So if they don't fully understand you, your actions, and your life, why do you take their opinions and their validation so seriously? People's opinions are important, but they're not as important as this one person I'm about to tell you. So if you can't seek the validation of other people, Whose validation are you supposed to get? Who are you supposed to look to for right and wrong, you ask me? As I've told you before in my videos, it's yourself. At the end of the day, when push comes to shove, the only person you really have is yourself. Not your parents, not your siblings, not your family, not your friends, not your girlfriend, not your wife, yourself. So instead of doing things for the validation and acceptance of other people, do it for your own validation. Do it because it fulfills you. It's what feels right to you and not to someone else. Do it not to be perfect, but because you feel it's right, whether it's a mistake or not. It's okay. There's only one way to find out. Let me give you an example. The dishes are dirty. There's a bunch of them. And you decide to wash them. Good on you. And then someone comes into the room when you're done and say, "Oh, thank you for washing those dishes." Yeah, and you feel good about yourself. You've done something that made someone else happy, but hey, look at that situation. Why did you wash those dishes? If you were waiting for that compliment, you know that you did it because you wanted someone else to feel happy. And sure, that might not seem bad at first, but that shows that you are putting your time, effort, and energy into seeking other people's validation rather than doing what you feel is truly right. It might seem okay now, it might seem sweet now, but later on in life, that's going to become a recurring habit. You start doing more and more things just to get the validation of other people. You start making your own life more difficult just to seek the other validation of other people. Sure, you can do things for someone once in a while, but you should be doing things more often than not for yourself. So, let's go back to the situation of our dishes. You see the dishes are dirty and you decide to wash them. What happens while you're washing the dishes? You think to yourself, "Wow, I'm pretty good for washing these dishes." And then you walk off and continue with your life, and no one ever compliments you. You walk off and you continue with your life as if nothing happened. You want to know the difference in that situation? You validated yourself. You didn't wait for someone else to come and validate you. You weren't trying to be perfect. You weren't trying to be flawless. You did what you thought was right. And then you moved on with your life. Living with that kind of mindset is what fulfills you. It's what makes your life worth living. You're not waiting for someone to notice and validate you. Once you start living with this mindset, you're already on the third step, which is validating yourself. You're no longer trying to be perfect and living to what the expected standards are. Rather, you're living to your own standards. You're doing what you feel is right. For example, let's say you want to take a rest day today. You're not going to call someone, maybe one of your friends, or ask someone, "Hey, should I take a rest day today?" You do what you feel is right. If you feel that you want to take a rest day today, then you do it. Because you made the decision, not someone else. It might be the right decision, it might be a mistake. Who knows? There's only one way to find out. At least you did what you felt was right and not what someone else told you or approved you to do. Now that's a mediocre example, and I can only give so many examples, but it's your job to go and take this into the real world and start experiencing life through this mindset. Because as I say, life isn't about being perfect, it's about trying to fulfill yourself. You know, all this need for perfection includes your self-improvement habits. You do all the self-improvement, this meditation, journaling, and everything to try and be the most perfect version of yourself, to try and optimize yourself. How do I know that? How can I call someone out like that? Because that's exactly what I did for so long. In fact, it might still be what I'm doing, but I'm working against it now. I'm trying to do things for myself now. I want you to realize that no matter how hard you work to try and have this perfect American dream, happy life, life is going to throw a curveball at you no matter what. There's always going to be something that pulls you down, some difficulty that you go through. There is no perfect life. Because if life was perfect, it's not worth living. It's the nooks, it's the crannies, it's the turbulence that makes it worth living, that keeps you going day by day. So instead of trying to eliminate every single problem so that you have no problems, eliminate your problems in a way that you find fulfilling, in a way that you want to do it. And take on problems that fulfill you, that make you want to do them. So instead of trying to aim for this 90-day meditation streak because someone shouting at a camera told you to, do it because you want to. Or hell, don't start meditation at all because you don't feel it's right for you. Do something else. Whatever it is, do something that fulfills you. Because at the end of the day, the only most important person in the world is you to yourself, not anyone else. You can either have this realization now and start living your own most fulfilling life, or you can have it in 20 years after you've gone through a bunch of life and realize that you're living someone else's expectation. That choice is up to you. This video might not make sense to some of you, and that's fine. Just put it in your watch later, come back to it, or just keep this video in mind for later on. It will click eventually. You can have my guarantee on that. Now, if you've actually watched till the end of this video, you obviously have an above average attention span, and I respect you for that a lot. If you like the way I talk and like my personality and the things I talk about, consider subscribing. I'm not going anywhere. In this channel, I teach lessons I learned maybe just yesterday, maybe a week ago, maybe things that have taken me years to learn. I don't know everything, but I know some things, and those few things I try to teach. So, like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.